The fact that you clicked this video already tells me a lot about you, and I know exactly what you're feeling right now. Your pockets are on E, your bank account is empty, and you've already maxed out all of your credit cards. Basically, you're completely broke at this point, and you have no idea what you're gonna do about it. Well, in this video, I'm gonna give you a 5-step plan to basically financially unfuck yourself. After this video, you're gonna know exactly what you need to do to get yourself out of that financial grave that you've been digging yourself into for days and days, or weeks and weeks, months and months, or for some of you even years and years. But before we get to this step-by-step plan, let's talk about what I mean when I say broke. Because really there are 3 different types of broke, or 3 different categories that you might find yourself falling into if you don't have enough money to pay your bills or to survive at the moment. The first level of brokenness is what I call momentarily broke. And this is where maybe you just made a big purchase. You know, for instance, Christmas just passed and maybe you bought too many gifts for your kids like I did, or car breakdown and you had to spend some money on that. And basically you're broke for a moment, but you know, you have an income, so your next paycheck will come in, and after a check or two, you're gonna be just fine. That's called momentarily broke. And if you find yourself fitting that category, then this video might not be the best video for you. Because again, you're gonna get another check, you're gonna get some more money, and things are gonna be fine in the long run, and you already know that. However, there are 2 other categories of broke where you're definitely gonna need some kind of plan or some kind of roadmap in order for you to get out of. And those 2 categories of brokenness include what I call uncertain brokenness and also perpetual brokenness. Uncertain brokenness is something that we've probably all experienced as well. This is where you unexpectedly become broke. Maybe you just lost your job, or you lost some other income stream or revenue stream, and you don't really know when that's gonna change. You're putting in applications, but you can't really say exactly when that's gonna take off and exactly when you're gonna find that new job or find that new income stream. In this case, you're probably a little uncertain about the future, but you're taking those steps to actually change it. And then you have what I call perpetual brokenness. And maybe you don't personally find yourself in this position, but we all know somebody who has been perpetually broke. In this case, maybe you're making an income. Maybe you have a job and you're getting checks bi-weekly or monthly, but those checks just don't give you enough money to get through the month. It's not enough for you to eat and to pay your bills, and you find yourself perpetually broke after you pay those bills. Or on the far end, maybe you don't have any income coming in and you find yourself perpetually broke and struggling to survive simply because you just never have any money. In those 2 cases, you're gonna need some type of plan, some type of roadmap, some type of system, and you're gonna have to actively take steps to actually fix the situation that you're finding yourself in. So before we get into this actual system or this plan that's gonna help you get to where you need to be, let's compare the good news versus the bad news. The bad news is that you're broke. And that's always bad news. But the good news is that you're not alone. In fact, right here in America, in the so-called land of milk and honey, almost 60% of people are living check to check. That means 6 out of 10 people are pretty much broke, either in an uncertain sense or perpetually. Oh, wait. Well, I guess that'll be bad news too. But the good news is that you don't have to stay that way, and you don't have to stay within that 60%. And if this sounds like you, then I already know what you're probably thinking right now. You're thinking, Mike, what do you know about being broke? You're a startup consultant, you're an entrepreneur, you seem to be doing financially well. What do you know about being broke? Well, obviously I know about it because I've been there too. I haven't always been a startup consultant. And while I've pretty much always been an entrepreneur, I definitely have not always been a successful one. Today, people pay me thousands of dollars for my opinions and for my advice. But 11 years ago, I didn't even have 2 pennies to rub together in order to give my 2 cents. Sure, I had an income, but once I paid my rent, my cell phone bills, put a couple groceries in the refrigerator, I was right back to being broke, pretty much perpetually. And no, it wasn't because I was lazy or that I wasn't hardworking. I was college educated. I was working 10 to 12 hours a day. It's just that my income wasn't matching up with my expenses. I had way more going out than I had coming in. And because of that, I wasn't just hitting 0 every month. Every single month, it was like I was digging myself 2 feet deeper into this financial grave. And eventually I got so desperate that I ended up just getting strategic. And I figured out a plan that will, 1, get me to my feet so I'm able to survive, and then 2, get me over what I needed so that I'm able to thrive. And there were 5 main steps that I took to turn things around, and I'm gonna share those with you today. Now look, some people are happy being broke. For some people, if they can eat and buy a beer every day, then they're perfectly happy. And that's fine. If that's you, then go ahead and click the X on this video right now, because there's nothing that I'm gonna say that's gonna help you. But me, I've been a $20,000 a year earner, and I've been a 6-figure earner. And I can tell you that there was never a time that being broke made me happier than having some money in my pocket. Having said that, if you're happy where you are financially, then by all means, just stay there. But if you're eager to move out of your current financial status, then stick with me and let's get into this 5-step process. Now, the first step I'm gonna mention is probably gonna be the hardest one. And that's because it's the one that's gonna feel the most out of your control, even though you actually do have full control over it. And that first step is to maintain your composure and don't panic. It's easy to start feeling uncontrollably anxious when you're watching your bank account go from 500 to 300 to 100 to 50, and now you're getting down to that last dollar and you have no idea what to do. But panicking is going to work completely against your overall financial goal. And you might have convinced yourself that you work better under pressure or better under stress, but come on, keep it real. There's nobody that's working better when they're on the edge of having a panic attack. The journey to go from broke to not broke is not gonna be easy. And the broker that you are right now, the harder that journey is gonna be. You're really gonna need every ounce of energy that you have in order to get out of this situation that you find yourself in. But stress and anxiety, those two things consume energy. That's why when you're depressed, you find yourself sleeping a lot more. The constant worrying, the not being able to sleep because you're thinking about your bills all night, those are things that are gonna totally work against you as you're trying to get into a better financial situation. And the truth is, panic minds, they just make bad decisions. Now, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, and if you Google me, you're not gonna find a criminal record behind my name. But that doesn't mean that I don't know a few people who have served some days, months, or years in jail and prison. And 90% of the felons that I know personally, they committed crimes during times where they were completely panicked financially. I mean, yeah, obviously they were criminals too, but they were panicked criminals who thought that if they kept doing whatever crime they were doing, that somehow that was gonna release them from their current financial situation. Your mind needs to be clear so that your actions can be clear. So don't panic. Take a deep breath. Go do some breathing exercises, take a walk in the park, go to the gym and lift weights, whatever you need to do to keep your mind calm. And keep telling yourself that you're gonna get out of this situation, because you are. And how do I know that? Well, because you're watching this video. Now, once you've gotten your mental right and you're committed to the process, then you can move on to step 2. And step 2 is to minimize the bleeding. Now, broke technically means that you're at 0, but not every broke person breaks even at 0 every month. Some of you end up being $200 in the negative, $500. Some of us business owners might be $5,000 or $10,000 in the negative by the end of the month. And for every month that passes, it's like you're bleeding out more and more and more. And really, financial health is similar to physical health. If somebody ran up and shot you right now, the EMS isn't gonna come and just start stitching you up automatically. The first thing that they're gonna have to do is figure out how to stop you from bleeding so much. The more that you bleed out, the lower your blood pressure becomes, and the harder that it's gonna be for them to revive you in the end. And that's the same thing with your financial health. The more that you bleed out every month, the harder that it's gonna be to get back on your feet. Now, I know I said the first step was the hardest, but this is probably gonna be the step that you're gonna hate the most. Why? Because people hate giving up things that they love. However, if you could afford to live the life that you love right now, then you wouldn't be broke and you wouldn't be watching this video. Now, I'm not one of those people that are gonna tell you to go and stop drinking your cup of Starbucks every day. Nah, this is the school of the hard knocks. It's gonna take a lot more than that. If you wanna stop being broke, then you're gonna have to live like you're serious about that commitment. And that means dropping every single thing that you're paying for every month that you actually don't need. Now, there are some things that obviously you're gonna have to keep paying for. You're definitely gonna wanna keep paying your mortgage and your rent. You wanna keep paying your utility. You're probably gonna wanna keep up with your credit card minimums, because otherwise you're just gonna get bad credit, and that's another thing that's gonna financially fuck you. But there's other things that you probably think you need that you actually don't. I mean, do you really need high-speed internet? Probably not, unless you're using it for work, because you could just use your phone as a hotspot and use that for your internet. Do you really need the newest iPhone with one of the most expensive carriers? Or could you back off of that for a few months and use a government phone, even though that doesn't sound very sexy and your friends might laugh at you? Do you really need Netflix, Hulu, and Xfinity? Or can you use your mom's name and password? Or could you just keep signing up for free trials every 2 weeks using a new email address? Cut out the fast food, cut out the expensive food. Sometimes you might have to eat generic cereal instead of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but hey, it is what it is. This is not about your comfort, because listen, this shit is not going to be comfortable, but there's nothing about being broke that's comfortable either. And trust me when I tell you, Cinnamon Toast Crunch tastes way better when you have money in your pocket. So minimize your bleeding, because that's gonna give you a better outlook on how much you need to actually survive, and then how much you need to earn to actually thrive. And that gets us to the third step, which is what I call finding and planning your 0 point. And basically a 0 point is the same thing as a break-even point. It's the amount that you need to earn in order to hit $0 once you pay all of your bills and all of your necessary expenses. In other words, once you tally up all of your bills, all of your monthly groceries, your car cost, and all of that stuff, it's how much you need to earn in order to pay for all of that stuff. And hopefully, once you completed the last step of minimizing the bleeding, hopefully you found that you actually earn more than what you need to survive, or you earn more than your bare minimum or your 0 point. But if that's not the case and you're making less than what you need to spend to survive, then you have some serious planning to do and some serious adjustments that you need to make in your life. I mean, it might come to the point that you have to ask yourself, can I even afford to live where I'm living? Can I afford to drive this car that I'm driving? Those are serious questions that you might have to ask yourself if you're in a perpetual broke situation. But you might find that you're really close to that 0 point, and just making one good financial decision could push you past that threshold. In this step, your only goal is to get to 0. So you have to define what that 0 point is, and then decide what steps you need to take to actually reach it. So if you lost your job, for instance, then your goal might be to gain meaningful employment, and your plan should reflect that. Maybe that means taking a lower paying job than you're used to, just because you know that you're overqualified and you can get that job in no time and start putting some money in your pocket. In that case, maybe your plan is gonna be to wake up every morning and get on LinkedIn, get new connections, ask people for references, send out email to your friends, contact every business around you that needs that certain position, that has the skills that you're good in. Whatever step you need to take to get you to the 0 point, your plan should reflect that, and that's a plan that you need to implement every single day. It's a plan that you have to stay committed to. It's not like that New Year's resolution plan that you broke in 2 days. This is something that you have to be serious about and that you have to work towards day by day by day. Whatever your goal is, whatever that plan is for getting you there, be serious about it. Write it down and make it concrete, and then stick to that plan until you reach that 0 point. If $1,000 is your 0 point, then until you're making $250 a week, you should be implementing that plan every single day. If $10,000 is your 0 point, then until you're making $2,500 a week, then you should be implementing that plan every single day with no excuses. Now, the good news is, if you've reached this point, then you're still gonna be broke, but you're gonna be happy broke. This is where you're not hungry or starving, but you're probably eating ramen noodles 4 times a day. You might not have got your Netflix back on, but you realize that those Tubi movies aren't so bad after all. In other words, you're not thriving yet, but your bills are paid and you're surviving. And you should pat yourself on the back for that. So now you're gonna work on getting to a more comfortable place where you're not just scraping by and you're not just living check to check. In order to start continuously leveling up your finances, you're gonna have to keep swapping between step 4 and step 5, and then repeating that process over and over until you really get to your financial goal. And step 4 is pretty simple. In this step, all you're doing is defining your first growth goal. And your growth goal should be an incremental step that you know that you could reach quickly and realistically without too many obstacles holding you back. Now, obviously, we all want $1 million in the bank, but that's not something that you're gonna do in a day or in a week or in a month. Your goal should be something that you can reach very soon. You probably can't figure out how to add $5,000 a month to your revenue or to your income, but you can definitely figure out how to add $100 a month to your income. And that's an incremental step that you could take towards building towards $5,000 additional added to your income every month. And if you can figure out how to increase your income by $100 next month, then it's not unrealistic to say that the month after you can increase it by $250, or that the month after that you can increase it by $500. But in this step, you want to define that goal. What is that next step that you need to reach, or that next increment that you need to reach in order to put you on the right track towards reaching your long-term financial vision? So in step 4, you define that goal, And then in step 5, I'm gonna show you how to actually put some things into place to help you increase that income and to reach that goal. And then once you've met that goal, you'll move to the next increment and you'll figure out another way to reach that increment as well. And you keep repeating that process over and over again. So at this point, you've stopped the bleeding, you've gotten yourself to a level where you're able to survive, and now you have to put things in place to actually increase your income. And I'm not gonna spend too much time here because we have so many videos on how to increase your income, so you can just go to our channel and check out some of those videos as well. But there are 3 things that you should consider in order to increase your income quickly and to continuously increase it into the future. The first thing you can do is to tap into your underutilized skills. So these are skills that you have that may be lying dormant, or skills that you're using but not using them to their full capabilities. And it doesn't have to be something crazy like building websites or building apps, for instance. If you know how to clean, you can easily just put up a post on Craigslist that's offering your cleaning services, or maybe offering a spring basement clean out or winter garage clean out. And you can do one of those per month and you'll probably already hit that first increment. Or maybe you can detail a couple of cars every month and that's going to improve your income as well. Here's a tip for that. Find stuff that other people can do but just don't want to do. Because the more that they don't want to do it, the more that they're going to be willing to pay somebody else to do it. And if you're that person that's willing to do it, then you're the person that can earn that money. The second way to increase your income is to learn new skills, because there are many areas where if you had skills in those areas and you were an expert in those areas, then people and businesses will pay you tremendously in order to access those skills and to access your expertise. So that means finding something that you're passionate enough about that you want to learn it. Then hop on a platform like Udemy, for instance, and find courses around that skill. Maybe you have a friend that's already working in that area and you can become their apprentice for a day or become their apprentice for a week or a month so that you can learn more about that area and you have somebody who can share their knowledge with. The point is, the more skills that you have, the more earning potential that you have. And finally, you can start a hustle or start a business. Realistically, there are several different types of high potential businesses that don't really take much knowledge or much money to start up. That means that you can almost hop right into them with no risk to you. And if you want to hear about those businesses, then you can check them out right here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and keep doing amazing shit.